Welcome in, everybody, to the National League Central Outlook, team needs, all of that. We're going to look at the 2021 season, the records, where the rosters stand after the CBA deadline, a fiasco, frenzy, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to take a look at the needs and the 5 targets that these teams should be focusing on to fulfill those needs. Now, in some instances, it's a trade, some it's a free agent. You're going to look at the different teams with me. You're going to see the same players on different slides, and I say this every time. I preface it. These are not the 5 players I think they're going to get. These are the players that they should be targeting. In some instances, we're just scratching the surface. We're talking about a relief pitcher of a certain kind. Maybe it's a lefty, maybe it's a veteran, maybe it's a back-end piece. That player is one of many of the similar kind that could fulfill that need. We could be talking about Chris Bryant or Nick Castellanos on 3 different pages. Again, that is the kind of player, that is what they're looking for. So welcome to everybody that is here live, because as again with all of these needs and target videos, we are doing them live. So again, I welcome everybody that is here. Beware of benches. Steve, Damian, Zion, Baba, Connor, Derek, Jeff, AJPS. Good morning to everybody that is here live. We are going to get right into the central discussion, and keep an eye out because next is the National League West. If you've been keeping up with these, we are going to be doing the National League West next. That will either be tomorrow or Thursday. So we do the Central today. And again, like I said, we're going to jump right into this. So let's get going. Let's hope it's right. There we go. The Pirates are first up. 61-101 last year. It wasn't good for the Pirates.
60% of the time, it works every time.
So what do the Pirates do moving forward? The rotation. Hey, listen, I give them credit because they went out, they made some signings right off the bat. You got Quintana was a new signing. I think he will be pitching up towards the top end of that rotation, just the veteran experience that he brings. He has had some successful seasons. Pirates going to hope to get something out of him, but Brubaker, Quintana, Keller, Wilson, and Crow. Then you've got Trenton. Crow was one of the pieces acquired in the Josh Bell trade with the Nats. You got to see what you got there. And Wilson came over in the trade for Rodriguez. So some pieces to build on in the rotation. The closer, Stratton, how much are they going to get out of that? I think you could probably see, a lot of different closing options for the Pirates. And again, I want to remind everybody again, this depth chart, I look at ESPN, I look at MLB, I will make my own call on some of these, okay? You may be watching this and say, well, that's not the closer, or that's not the number 3 starter. They are, to a point, some of this is at my discretion, my feeling on how things are going to go. Catching, Perez, they picked him up, the nice move. Again, I like what the Pirates have done for the most part. Then you've got Tsutsugo, which I think was a great a great player to bring back after how well he performed with Pittsburgh. Looked like he maybe has figured it out. It was a very small sample size, but a 900 plus OPS with the Pirates. So there's some optimism there. They got Chavis from the Red Sox. So you'll have Chavis can play first, Chavis can play second. You've also got Newman. Newman can play either middle infield spot. You got to think O'Neal Cruz figures into the mix here. Ke'Bryan Hayes, there's your future, right? Build around Ke'Bryan Hayes. Gamble, Reynolds, Alford in the outfield. Reynolds, certainly, again, he's the leader out there. And then Tsutsugo and Cole Tucker are your, listen, whether they're the DH, whether they're just fitting in where they can fit in. I have a feeling some of these National League teams, when the DH comes to the National League, there may be some teams that just fit in their 4th outfielder or their extra infielder or their backup catcher. Pittsburgh seems like they could be one of those teams. So what are the needs for Pittsburgh? I have identified at the corner outfield spots, a second baseman or first baseman, some bullpen help, and some starting pitching is my identified needs for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So let's get into who they should be targeting. And let's not ignore the elephant in the room. Let's get right to this. It's got to happen. It's got to happen. You want to draw fans? You want to get people to PNC Park? You want to do this thing right next year, Pittsburgh Pirates? Let's get the reunion. bring Andrew McCutchen back to Pittsburgh. It needs to happen. We've done those multiverse videos with Freeman and Correa, and at least one of those versions of the multiverse, we have McCutchen back with Pittsburgh. Listen, they could use a corner outfielder. They could use a DH. So he fits a need. He fills a need. Go and make a Andrew McCutchen reunion happen. Pablo Sandoval also makes the list of needs again. They need a DH. He could DH. Pablo Sandoval says he wants to play. Pittsburgh could be a spot for him to play. And Pittsburgh, some of these guys, most of these guys, these are going to be players that they're veterans. Maybe some could look at them as on the backside of their career, but could be short-term deals, which makes them likely trade targets if they're playing well at the deadline. Next up, Andrelton Simmons, again, a veteran player, could be a one-year deal, a trade asset. That's what we're looking at. That's the surface we're scratching out with Andrelton Simmons. I think, listen, there are some other teams where Simmons is a better fit, but Pittsburgh, if we're looking at the needs, if we're looking at the upgrades, we took a look at their roster, Simmons could fit in there as well. Also, some veteran starting pitching that might be looking for a team. Johnny Cueto was okay. Wasn't great, but he was okay with San Francisco last year. So Johnny Cueto could go to Pittsburgh and could make something work there. Again, we're looking at veterans that are probably going to be looking at one-year deals, and we talked about starting pitching as an area of need for Pittsburgh. So we'll put, listen, J.A. Happ's picture. The dude looks like a psychopath. So that psycho there, J.A. Happ, could be the next need, the next target that could fill a need for Pittsburgh. I think they want to let the young pitchers go, but they're also going to need to get through the season. One of these two. I'm not saying they're going to, again, this is not the 5 players that Pittsburgh is going to get. These are players that fill a need. And then again, in Pittsburgh's case, we're not going to see this with the Cardinals. We're not going to see this with the Brewers. Players that you can sign on a 1 or a 2-year deal and then trade at the deadline. Players that maybe, if they're having a good year, you could turn them into a trade asset and improve the team for the future. So we have Pittsburgh. Let's go to the Reds. Reds are next. What's up, Robbie Hyde? I see you, man. How you doing, buddy? Let's go. Nick Gonzalez. That'd be interesting to see if Gonzalez does come up. Pittsburgh's not that far away from fielding a good club. Will it be a competitive club? That is what we will see. But an interesting team. Pittsburgh's not too far away. So Cincinnati Reds are next, 83-79, finished third last year. Their rotation is, for now, right? Sonny Gray, Luis Castillo at the top. Then you got Meley Gutierrez, who had some nice moments last year. You got Hoffman maybe as the 5. Could Green break through as the number 5? We will see on that. You could put a lot. I think you could have 4 different players for that back end of the rotation spot. Who's the closers? Anybody's guess. Is it Antone? Is it Sims? Do they go and get somebody? We will see. The closer situation is sort of, again, similar to Pittsburgh. You could have 3 or 4 different pitchers for this Reds team log, 6, 7, 8 or more saves throughout the year. All right, next up, the lineup. Stevenson, I like Stevenson. I think they've got something good there. They traded away Barnhart, so that tells you what they think about Stevenson. They're ready to give him the reins, and Buck Farmer can play a lot of spots. So you have Stevenson, Farmer there, Votto, Jonathan India, shortstop. Moustakas is almost killing Eugenio Suarez's career, because Suarez is not a good shortstop. He offensively, he does better when he plays third. But Moustakas, listen, I don't know. Can you move India to short and get Moustakas to second and move Suarez back to third? Something's got to be done. Or trade Suarez. Right now you're not going to get much back, but you have an infield of Votto, India, Suarez, and Moustakas. However it shakes out, there you go. The outfield, you've got 4 or 5 options for the outfield, depending on what you think about Akiyama. But you got Winker, you like him. Nyquin had a nice bounce-back season last year. Nick Senzel's got to break through. We got to have a Nick Senzel breakthrough. Then you've got Aristides Aquino. Listen, the Reds are a team that can use the DH, right? Finally, they could get Aquino in there. They get some regular ABs for him. So you get Aquino, or again, we see what we have with Akiyama. Let's get to the Reds' needs. What do they need? I have identified some starting pitching depth, and they're set in a lot of other places. So you're looking for depth, or you're looking for upgrades. You're looking for return pieces via the trade if you're trading with the Mets, or you're trading with the Blue Jays, right? Because that's, I think, two of the teams that you'll hear the Reds rumored with. So if you're trading with the Mets, if you're trading Luis Castillo to the Mets, you want to be getting Ronnie Mauricio back, or somebody of that like. You want to get a top prospect back from the Mets. If you're trading Luis Castillo to the Mets, that's where you want to go. Build for the future, right? There you go. Next up, if you're trading with the Blue Jays, if you're sending Luis Castillo or Sonny Gray to Toronto, you start with Lourdes Gurriel Jr., all right? That is where you start if you're making a trade with the Toronto Blue Jays. So you're upgrading the team via the trade. You know, obviously, you've got a little bit more time until you see Mauricio. Gurriel would be an immediate plug-in to the team. If you're not going to make any trades, Reds, if you're going to hold on to the situation that you got, let's improve the pitching depth. That's what we're talking about. They could use maybe the number 4, number 5 improvement. So we'll talk about some pitchers next. Tyler Anderson still has some potential, kind of an up and down pitcher, not a front end rotation kind of guy, but I think he would fit in nicely towards the back end of the rotation. Also, another guy similar, Michael Pineda. You're basically filling out the rotation. You need some mid to back end pieces, guys that can pitch up to that middle of the rotation kind of level, but you're going to set them in there at that number 4, at that number 5 spot. And then, so we go Anderson, we go Pineda, and we go Kwang Hyun Kim as pieces for the Reds, filling out that rotation, completing it. Listen, if you're going to trade Luis Castillo or Sonny Gray, you need to go and get pitchers for right now. I don't know if Hunter Green is going to be ready. And Hoffman, I don't think you want Hoffman in there. So if you're going to trade away Gray or Castillo or both, you got to get active. And if you're doing that, I don't know if Anderson, Pineda, and Kim are the options, but the way to go right now is fill out that rotation, get that number 5 spot squared away. The Reds could surprise people next year. I wouldn't be surprised if the Reds do make a surprise move in the Central and are pushing for a wild card spot. Depends on what happens out west and in the East, I guess, right? All right, let's move on to the next, and it's the Chicago Cubs. 71-94 last year, 4th place, the massive sell-off, the trading of everybody that was basically a part of that championship team. They're all gone. They're starting fresh. You still got Contreras there, but you've got Hendricks. He was there too. Hendricks, Stroman, the new addition. I still think Hendricks is the 1. Stroman be your 2. Miley 3, Mills 4, Alzolay 5. I like Adbert Alzolay. I think you've got something there, Cubs fans. So we'll dive into it. I don't think we need to focus too much on the pitching, though you may want to. I don't know if you really have to. Certainly some depth there, but let's move on. Rowan Wick as the closer. Is he the closer? I really have no idea. Cubs fans, I want you to comment and let me know if Wick is your closer. That's what it was on ESPN. I looked on MLB. Listen, whoever's closing in Chicago, it's an area of need. Okay, we're going to address that. The lineup, you got Contreras, you've got Gomes. Is Contreras going to still be there? Did he turn that plane emoji around and come on back after the Stroman signing? I don't know. You got Schwindel for first, Madrigal at second, Horner at short, Wisdom at third. I mean, look at that middle infield with Madrigal and Horner. I mean, you're talking about 2 of the most highly regarded prospects in baseball going back 2 years before these guys made their major league debuts. Now they're on the same team together. We'll see if they can stay healthy and put it together. Horner especially, he's really having trouble staying healthy. So we have Madrigal and Horner in the middle infield. Wisdom, do they have something at third? The outfield, are Cubs fans tired of Ian Happ? You got Happ, you got Frazier, you got Hayward. For DH, this is a team. You got Ramirez, who they signed before the CBA deadline. You got Ortega, you got Bodie. This team feels like one of those teams that could use an outfield upgrade or a DH or something. Just doesn't feel like there's a great fit. So let's dive into the needs, and I want to remind everybody, make sure to hit that like if you have not used your like yet. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe if you're just finding the channel for the first time. If you're into baseball, this is a good place for you. Ballcap Nation's waiting for you. Make sure you subscribe. So the Cubs, the needs, this is how I look at it. They need some relief pitching depth. I think they need a closer. They could use some infield insurance and maybe an impact outfielder. Those are my target. Those are my needs. So who's going to fill the target? Cubs fans, are you ready? Who's at the top of the list? Cubs fans, are you ready? Give me Carlos Correa. He is my pick right now. The Cubs and Correa, that is my prediction that Correa will end up with the Chicago Cubs. I think that fits when we look at that middle infield spot. Nico Hoerner could move to another spot. I don't know when Madrigal's going to be ready, if he's going to be ready to start the season. So Hoerner could play second, and Madrigal could be, your extra infielder. We know there's no power. That's the problem with Nick Madrigal and players that are like that, and potentially Austin Martin when the Jays traded him. You've got these middle infielders, or actually any position really, that listen, you can be a good hitter, you can be a 300 hitter, a 290 hitter, you put the bat on the ball, but if you're not hitting home runs, if you have zero power, then your organization is, listen, you're going to be expendable, and there's going to be somebody behind you a year or two away that does have the power. So that's the only thing, that is my worry with Madrigal. Does he get lost in the shuffle because he's a guy that's going to hit 0 or 1 or 2 home runs? Now, he might hit 300, but in today's game, I don't know if I just don't know if there's a fit there. So you have Correa as the piece there. So give me Correa as the top target for the Cubs, and that is also my prediction right now that Correa will end up on the Cubs. That bullpen, needed help in the bullpen, right? In some instances, I do think the Cubs need to bring some players back. And here's a player I think they should bring back. They traded Tepera to the White Sox at the deadline last year, or around the deadline. I think they should try to bring him back. They should give him a shot to close. If he's not the closer, he'd be an impact piece for the bullpen. So I like Tepera to come back. They need some bullpen help. They also need some lefty arms, because after Wick, if memory serves me right, there's no lefties left. So why not bring back Chafin? Why not bring him back? So I'm not talking about bringing back Rizzo or Baez. Obviously, can't bring back Baez, but I'm not talking about bringing back Rizzo or Jock Peterson or, obviously some of the others have already signed other deals. But let's bring back some of those relievers, because I think that bullpen could use some help. Also, the rotation could use a little bit more for that rotation. Just in case Mills stinks, just in case you need Alzolay for the bullpen or he regresses. Why not? Let's talk about a trade. Let's try to get a trade done with Oakland for Chris Bassett. I like the idea of the Cubs making a move there to improve that rotation. Again, we look at the rotation real quick. Hendricks, Stroman, Miley, that's good. But what do you got with Mills? If you have a situation where Bassett is your 3 and Miley's your 4, and then for that 5 spot, it's Mills and Alzolay, obviously that rotation is looking better. So we do that. We have Bassett, or again, we're scratching the surface here. That kind of addition via a trade to improve the rotation. And then the impact outfield bat, because the outfield right now, Happ, maybe, Frazier, could work out. I think we're all excited for Frazier to get some at-bats. Hayward, I think we know what Hayward is right now. The DH, listen, you can see an upgrade or depth play here. So give me an upgrade or the depth play. This guy's going to play, though. Eddie Rosario. That will be my other piece for the Cubs that could fill the need. Again, a reminder, these are not the 5 players that they're going to get. These are the 5 targets that fill the needs. Robbie's got Angels as a dark horse for Correa. That could happen. Angels have a need there. That could happen if they are not going to get any of the pitching. Just fall back and do what they do every year. Spend the money on the bats if they fail at bringing in the pitching. Because we know they've got some more money to spend. Just can they spend it in the right way? Let's go with the... for the Cubs, there are the 5 targets that could fill the needs. Let's get to the Cardinals now. Cardinals fans, I feel like I have seen you in the chat. We have gone back and forth very politely. I'm not saying there has been no arguments with Cardinal fans on Twitter. We've just had some exchanges, some back and forth. We've been talking about what do the Cardinals needs. Let's dive into it. 90-72 last year, wild card, that miraculous run to get to the playoffs. The rotation, you got Flaherty, you got Waino, you got Matz. I like the top 3. Dak Hudson as a 4, that's a good thing. At your 5 spot, Mikolas, Woodford. That's how you want your rotation to look. Okay, there you go. That's how you want it to look. You have an ace at the top. You have a couple pitchers that can pitch up. Matt's at the 3 is a good place. Hudson at the 4, that's a good. They're not overreaching. Maybe you could argue that Wainwright's going to fall apart and he shouldn't be the number 2. We could certainly, that would be a valid argument. But with Flaherty, Wainwright, Matz, Hudson, Mikolas, you got Woodford in there. You want to have 6, 7, potentially 8 guys for the rotation heading into spring training, and they have 6 right here. And they could certainly add some depth if they need to. The closer situation, you got Gallegos, you got Reyes. Lineup, Molina, Goldie, Edman, shortstop. I have a feeling we're going to talk about shortstop. Third base is Arenado. Outfield, O'Neill, Bader, Carlson. You got gold gloves in the outfield. Yeah, gold gloves all over the place. DeYoung, I think, fits in as the DH. And there is my point. Let me just take a quick side note to talk about the shortstop situation. Paul DeYoung was ho-hum, we'll say, at best. It was a ho-hum 2020, right? 2021 was bad for our friend Paul DeYoung. So there are certain players. I put Paul DeYoung in the same category I put Adam Eaton, those guys that didn't do well in 2020. But listen, I'm throwing 2020 out the window for everybody. And then 2021, they're hoping for the bounce back, and it doesn't happen. They have a bad 2021. So it's been 2 years since we saw this player be good. But we got to throw out 2020. Who cares about 2020? So Paul DeYoung, he's still in his prime. He's going to be 28. There is a very good likelihood that Paul DeYoung bounces back. He's on a team-friendly contract. There's a lot of reasons when you think about it to like what you could have with Paul DeYoung next year. But I understand Cardinal fans are tired of Paul DeYoung. All right, I say that. I know I'm speaking into the wind here when it comes to Paul DeYoung. I understand you're sick of him, and Sosa doesn't excite you. But there's a chance that nothing happens. But there is also a chance that something does happen. So let's get into the needs. Where do we identify the Cardinals' needs? I think they need some bullpen depth. I think they could use a DH. You know, you could still make an impact move at short and have Paul DeYoung there, and Sosa could be your super utility guy. Let's see. What are we going to do? If we're doing the first need, the first target, basically we're going to move somebody to DH to make room for this guy if they've got the money. If the Cardinals have the money, Trevor Story could fit. If they've got the money, you move Paul DeYoung to DH. Sosa's your super utility, as we just talked about. If they have the money, I don't think they need to spend any more money on pitching, on the starting pitching. And for bullpen, they could maybe try to get a deal. Now, if you go get Trevor Story, Cardinal fans, any chance of a Pujols reunion tour, goodbye tour, might be shot. But Trevor Story could, maybe if they've got the money, be an option here. He would fill a need. He would certainly fill a need. Can they make it happen? Do they have the money? If they want to go the nostalgic route, Albert Pujols should be at the top of the list. Pujols could be your DH. Do they think he's got anything left? Should they do a Pujols reunion? Cardinals fans, would you like that? That is the question. Comment below, Cardinals fans. Comment in the chat if you're with me live. Do you want Albert Pujols goodbye tour? He could be there. It's not going to cost a lot of money. And if they have the DH, you're good to go. If they want to get more production or feel like they need more production out of that DH spot, if they don't get Story, if they're going to live with DeYoung and Sosa at short, Nelson Cruz could be a nice go and get player for that DH spot for the St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, hell, Nelson Cruz helped the Cardinals win the World Series back in, what was that, 11, 12? What was the David? I can't remember the David Freese year. But he helped them win the World Series way back then when he was a Ranger. Now he could help them win the World Series again, this time wearing the Cardinals uniform. So I think that could be a DH target for the Cardinals, as they will be in need to add that extra bat. Next up, pitching. It is a target. It is a pitching. Let's go Ryan Tepera. So we had Tepera for the Cubs. I think another option here. They need to add more depth to that bullpen. I like Ryan Tepera. And if it's not Ryan Tepera, because I think Ryan Tepera will be... Thank you, Derek. I appreciate you, buddy. I appreciate your support to the channel. Thank you for the super chats. Get some hype going in the live chat for Derek. I appreciate you, man. Happy New Year to you, my friend. So we are going to... Tepera will be the probably one of the more expensive arms out of the bullpen. This next player, I think, won't cost as much, but could be effective, Joe Kelly. Why not Joe Kelly? Playoff experience, Joe Kelly, a good emotional player, good out of the bullpen, rocketing 100 miles an hour. I mean, who isn't these days? But you could have Joe Kelly as a bullpen filler for the Cubs. The Cardinals. They need to get more for that bullpen. Let's move on to the final team in the Central. It's the Milwaukee Brewers. 95-67 last year, winning the Central. Burns, Woodruff, Peralta leading the way of that rotation with Hauser and Lauer at the back end. Your closer's one of the best in baseball, Hader. I understand Hader in the playoffs. Maybe you don't love it as much, but at the end of the day, you've got one of the best closers in baseball. You've got Narvaez. You've got Severino for your catcher spot. Right now, Rowdy Tellez is at first. Is there an upgrade there? Maybe. I would love Rowdy Tellez to get a full shot to play, 140-plus games at first base for somebody. I don't know if it'll happen here. We'll see. We're going to talk about what they need to do. You got Wong. You got Adames. You got Arias. The rest of the infield. Do you feel like Adames is going to do what he did last year again? Same with Arias. Do you feel comfortable with that? The Renfroe trade was a big get for the Brewers. They needed an impact righty bat after losing Garcia. So Renfroe's in the outfield with Kane and Yelich. DH, this is one of those teams, we talked about it, where right now when you look at it, they're just filling in with that extra infielder or that extra outfielder with Hiura, Ray, Brasso was acquired before the CBA expired. Do they give him some at-bats there? Brasso might just be an insurance policy in case Arias or Adames fall flat. That's your worry if you're the Brewers. Those two guys coming off finally breakthrough seasons. I understand Adames had shown flashes where he was a good quality shortstop, but he was really good at times last year. And you kind of need that Willy Adames to be the regular Willy Adames. Do you have that there? We'll find out. But let's get into what the Brewers need. Again, my needs for the Brewers: an additional bullpen arm, another solid righty bat. I think somebody that fits the DH isn't just a filler position. I think they need a real player to be at that DH spot. So let's get into who they should be targeting. And I've been saying this now for a while. I think Nick Castellanos should be at the top of the list for the Milwaukee Brewers. You're going to need a bounce-back season from Yelich. The Renfroe trade, that's nice, but go out and get one of the best bats in the National League. Bring him in. You have the pitching that can get you to a championship. I truly believe that. The Brewers have the pitching to win a championship. They need the bats to support it. So go get it done. Nick Castellanos is at the top of the lineup. We heard rumors of a trade between the Yankees and the Brewers. Kane for Voit. Go do it. Get it done. Kane is entering the final year of his contract. It's 19 million bucks. Luke Voit is early in his arbitration. Financially, it makes sense. From a team standpoint, it makes sense. You could go get Luke Voit, you send Lorenzo Cain out, and you sign Nick Castellanos. You could do both of these. You could do 1 and 2 if you're the Milwaukee Brewers, and all of a sudden that lineup looks fearsome. Go do it. But that is the other need. Now, let's say they don't get the Voit trade done. In that world too, by the way, the Voit trade, then Tellez becomes your DH. But in this situation, let's say they don't get the Voit trade done. Let's say, or they don't get Castellanos. Let's get, again, an impact bat, an impact righty bat. Jorge Soler, he can be your DH. You can put him in the outfield. The Braves felt comfortable. Snitker felt comfortable with him in the outfield. He can DH. He can be in the outfield. He can hit at the top of the lineup. Snit felt good with him there at the top of the lineup. If Soler doesn't go back to the Braves, I feel like Soler to the Brewers is a fit. So we talk about the righty bats. Get that lineup. Support the lineup, okay? Conforto's another one that we talked about as a potential fit for Milwaukee. I see Andre with Conforto. I like that idea, Andre. I do like it. Let's talk about the pitching. So that's the other thing. You've got Williams. You've got Hader. Hopefully you have Williams for the start of the year and that whole hand thing doesn't drag on and it's not a problem. But if it is, the Brewers, I think you want to have some impact arms of the bullpen, somebody like Colin McHugh. I think the Brewers, if you can overload the pitching, maybe you get one of these bats, maybe you get Soler and then you just go overload on the pitching. Colin McHugh would be a nice add-on for that bullpen with Williams, with Devin Williams, with Josh Hader. Go do that. And then there's some teams that can take a chance on Trevor Rosenthal, and I think the Brewers are one of those teams. So I like the idea of the Brewers taking a chance on Trevor Rosenthal. Some teams can do it, some teams can't. The Brewers have the established closer. Rosenthal could be your eighth inning guy if Devin Williams, if there's something wrong with Williams. And remember, Williams was up and down last year. So Trevor Rosenthal could be one of this. The Brewers could be one of the teams that go and make a move for Rosenthal. Let's do a recap. The 5 targets for each team after the lockout. Recapping the Pirates. We had McCutchen, we had Sandoval, we had Simmons, Cueto, and the psychopath J.A. Happ. J.A. Happ's probably a very nice person, but in this picture, he looks like a psycho. So you have the reunion tour with McCutchen. All of these players, the thought is to fill out the team and upside guys that if they're having a good year, they will be trade pieces because these are probably going to be 1-year deals, maybe a 2-year deal in there. Maybe Simmons is a 2-year deal or McCutchen is a 2-year deal or a 1-year deal with a team option, whatever it is. You could have an opportunity where you bring in these bats, you bring in these arms, and they could be nice trade assets. The Reds were next. If they're going to trade Castillo, if they're going to trade Gray, they should be asking for the big return. We're talking Mauricio from the Mets. We're talking Gurriel from the Blue Jays. If those are the teams that they're in the mix for, I mean, would the Reds straight up Sonny Gray for Lourdes Gurriel Jr.? The Reds might. Would the Blue Jays? Maybe not. But that's where the conversation needs to start if you're the Reds. And then fill out the rotation with one of these 3, Kim, Pineda, or Anderson. Let's talk about the Cubs. Recap their targets. Correa is my prediction right now that the Cubs will get Correa. Tepera or Chafin, fix that bullpen. Those are the players to bring back from last year's opening day squad, right? They're not going to bring back Rizzo. They're not going to bring back Jock Peterson. Baez is already gone. So you've got Bryant is not coming back. It sounds like there was a little bit of smoke that maybe Bryant would be open to a reunion, but then that got snuffed out. So you have these are my needs. These are the targets that could fill the needs for the Cubs. Correa, the bullpen options. Bassett in a trade to strengthen that rotation. If the Cubs are going to go for it, if they think they can win, these are moves that you sign multi-year deals. You trade for Bassett, you sign him to the extension. You're building for the next run, and then Rosario could be a nice piece for that outfield. Next up, the Cardinals. If they've got the money, Trevor Story would fill a need. All right, you move DeYoung to DH. Sosa becomes your super utility. Trevor Story would fill a need. It just depends on how much he's going to cost. Pujols would certainly be a nice fit there for DH if they can make that happen. If they want a more productive DH, I think Nelson Cruz has more in the tank. I think we would all agree on that. Nelson Cruz has more in the tank than Albert Pujols does. And then the bullpen options to strengthen that bullpen. This is a Cardinals team that is going to be trying to win the Central. They're going to want to make a playoff run. We saw it this past offseason, or this past postseason, that the bullpens are, you could almost have given the Braves bullpen the World Series MVP. The Astros bullpen, the ALCS MVP, with how well that those units were performing. You got to have the bullpen right if you want to make a World Series run. Go add some bullpen arms. And then the Brewers, again, same thing with the bullpen mentality, right? So we have McHugh and we have Rosenthal in there, but the impact righty bats to support the lefty bats that they have. They've got a lot of lefty bats right now. You got Yelich, you got Tellez, you got Wong. Who else we got? We got Yelich, Tellez, Wong, and Narvaez. You've got some good lefty bats. You got the good lefty-righty, but my worry about the righty bats, I feel comfortable with Renfroe. I feel comfortable with Kane, but I want to see Urias do it again. I want to see Adames do it again. We need to see Hiura bounce back. So there's some let's see guys in the situation for Milwaukee. But if you go get Voit, Voit might be a little bit of a let's see guy, but Castellanos certainly is not. Castellanos has showed it to you. So I like Castellanos as the top need for the Milwaukee Brewers. Here's the deal. If you are a fan of any of these teams, or you just like playing general manager like I do sometimes, make sure to comment live or comment in the chat, the comment section below, who you think your team should get, or who should be the number one target for the Brewers or the Cardinals or the Reds. Who should be the number one target for those teams? Do you like the idea of McCutchen back to Pittsburgh or Pujols back to the Cardinals? Comment below and let me know what you think. It's okay to disagree. Just don't be an ass about it. That's all I ask. We'll disagree. It's fine. And again, you might correct me on something. I might have something off. We might have a couple Pittsburgh Pirate fans that are in here and they're like, what are you talking about? Stratton, the closer? No way, dude. Get that right. I'm sorry. It's what I found online. You're closer to the situation. It's okay to correct me on that. So certainly do that. Those that are with me live, we're going to keep going for a little while. Those that are watching the replay, this is where we will leave you. I appreciate you coming in and spending some time with the channel. We're going to continue this conversation live. We're going to dive into who the chat thinks will win the Central, what they want teams to do, because I know we have some good Cardinal fans and Cubs fans and Brewers fans as a part of Ballcat Nation. So we're going to talk with the chat. Again, so if you're watching the replay, I will leave some links to some of my other off-season content for you to check out. Again, we've done all of the American League. We've done the National League East, so we'll add some links to those. And later this week, we will be doing the National League West. So stay close to all of that. Again, I appreciate you. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit that like. All of that for those watching the replay. You made it to the end. Appreciate you spending some time with the channel, and thank you for watching the video.